There is much activity at this drill site in northeastern Pennsylvania. Thousands of feet under the ground exists the Marcellus Shale, a rock formation that spans nearly 95,000 square miles at depths of up to 9,000 feet. Geologists call it a national treasure, as the shale may hold trillions of cubic feet of natural gas. Southwestern Energy, an independent company based in Houston, is on site, aggressive in its pursuit to rapidly extract and produce that gas, investing $500 million to drill and complete 70 wells using the top technology in the industry. Southwestern, also known as SWEN, is a force today, but was relatively unknown only a decade ago.
8 years ago, we were the about 30th largest producer in the country for natural gas. Today, we're 7th largest producer. We produce 3% of the nation's gas as a company.
SWEN's ascension, however, started in a downward spiral.
We lost a lawsuit on a natural gas gathering side of the business. It was just over $100 million lawsuit. Our company's value at that time was about $175 million total, and everyone thought we were going to go bankrupt. And at that point in time, the management team had to come together and come up with what are we going to tell our employees and what are we going to tell our investors.
Almost overnight, the company lost 40% of its value. So, of course, very, very dark times within the company. And at that time, there was just a lot of discussion about, do we continue, what's going to happen?
SWEN's executives lacked capital, but say they had something just as valuable.
We did have people, and we did have ideas. So what they sat down and says was, well, let's just make sure the right people are working on the right things. And if we have the right people working on the right things, we'll slowly get out of this mess.
This simple idea became the cornerstone of the SWEN company formula.
The right people doing the right things, wisely investing the cash flow from the underlying assets, will lead to added value or value plus.
That rallied the investment community. There were several who invested just because they said, you know, I think you guys got a shot if you really do that. And it rallied the organization.
Against the odds, SWEN created a culture of can-do workers who bonded in the tough times and remained loyal to the company.
We really just rolled up our sleeves and started working. And we had a very talented group of geoscientists, geologists, and geophysicists, and engineers as well, that started to work on various prospects in different parts of the country.
Among them, a geologist, conducting tests in the Arkoma Basin in an area that would soon be called the Fayetteville Shale.
As he's looking at one little teeny zone, he figured out that that zone was producing more than it should. As he was looking at it, he just said, this is an anomaly, and he had this curiosity, let me figure out why that's that case.
SWEN management gave the go-ahead to drill a test well.
Everyone in the office was waiting anxiously for the word on what was going to happen on that well when we tried to test it. The guys out on the field, they had cell phones, but it's in a little valley, and it's out in the middle of nowhere. They couldn't get cell phone reception, so they drove 3 or 4 miles into town or close to town where they get cell phone reception. And then the guy called our senior management here, and his phone message was, Houston, we have gas.
This utterance ushered in a period of explosive expansion and propelled SWEN into an unexpected position of industry leadership. SWEN would become the fastest growing company in the S&P 500 in the decade between 2000 and 2010. Its value jettisoned from a few $100 million to nearly $12 billion. But there was a downside.
The development of the Fayetteville Shale was a good news, bad news story for Southwestern Energy. It was good news because all of a sudden we realized we were sitting on probably a resource of 8 to 10 TCF of gas, which is a lot of gas. The bad news, of course, was Southwestern was ill-prepared from a systems perspective to handle kind of the volume of transactions that we ended up having by developing this field.
We ran as fast as we could to keep up with the business. As we had a chance, we stuck our head up, looked around, see what we had, and in many cases, we had systems that didn't talk to each other. We had processes that weren't that efficient. So what the growth demanded was something that could pull all that information together as seamlessly as possible.
And so, with the formula in mind, the right people went to work on an infrastructure overhaul to meet the challenges posed by Fayetteville.
We didn't really know if we could get the gas out of this formation, this rock formation, and we figured out how to do it. The more we did it, the better we got at it, and so it became less of experimentation and more of operation. We've got to be able to do things in a manner that is contained and controlled. Drill wells, explore, find new opportunities for us and new locations so that we can find new revenue sources for the organizations.
From HR to supply chain, from finance to operations, the changes have been sweeping and so far successful.
We've already seen the benefit of being able to get our arms around the information more quickly, more at a granular level on a well by well, asset by asset, much more timely, which certainly drives kind of where we're going operationally and helps us to be more agile and more adaptive to change.
SWN's internal transformation, though ongoing, has helped SWN accelerate production at Fayetteville with 3,000 wells, producing nearly 3% of the nation's natural gas. Another 10,000 wells are planned. Beyond Fayetteville, SWN is in various stages of exploration and production at 6 other sites around North America. While SWN expands, it's setting new records in earnings, production, and reserves, and is today considered one of the industry's lowest cost operators. And as the future unfolds, SWN executives say their success will always be linked to the company's greatest natural resource, its people.
Some of it is building better infrastructure, building better processes. 98% of it is the general demeanor and attitude of the people that work for Southwestern Energy. And we all have this. There are no barriers that we can't overcome, demeanor and attitude. And whenever you have 2,500 people that have that kind of a mindset, it's amazing what they do every single day.